Gareth, we're back. I almost can't believe it. The best part of this whole thing was the strikers, and we left it a long time.
I know. Why was that?
I think it's possibly because it was quite a long list to get through. So this is pretty much the one I've been excited about this whole time.
When I've been writing down some strikers, they've been coming to me so easily. So there's probably around 20. 10 I kind of chucked out because they were just names I'd remembered that were quite funny. I think we've decided on 5 each, but we're not going to name 5. We're going to aim for 3. And we've got a couple as a backup because there's a good chance there might be some crossover here.
And just to sum up the criteria for one very last time, this isn't like the best 11 from the 90s we're naming here. We're obviously doing a 4-4-2 because it's the 90s. We've already named all the positions and now we're just down to the strikers. And it's not the best 11. It's not even the cult 11. It's the funniest 11. And the best way I can explain is if your gran or your friend or your partner was talking to you at, I don't know, a wedding, and you got into 90s football nostalgia, and they don't know that much about football, and suddenly they just say their favourite footballer is. In my head, that's how I'm working this out. Who would be the funniest name they could say?
That's our criteria.
And I think we're ready to dive in.
Also, as I've just realised, is this the big breakup after this episode?
Well, I don't think there's a second season in it.
I don't think so. Who cares about noughties or 80s? We only care about 90s.
No, we could run through the backroom staff. Who's the funniest kit man of the 90s?
Unless we do like a Euro 96 special or something like that.
Few of the names we've mentioned so far would definitely fall into that.
Yeah.
So at the end, we should just quickly run through our team as well, and we can show it in the grass pitch at the end. That'd be lovely. Can the graphics department deal with that?
They can. I have saved all these low-res JPEGs I've managed to squeeze in so far.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Yeah, I noticed a lot of them are like just them playing football. I think it would have been funnier if you'd chosen like on the Wikipedia when it's them outside the football arena, just with like a suit on or like on a night out or something. Yeah. I think I would have preferred that, but nevertheless.
I like the Wikipedia crops where they've obviously just been uploaded by somebody who's met them and the person's arms over the shoulder, but they've been cropped out the photo. Because they're not copyrighted. Yeah. You have to go to Getty Images for that one. Yeah. Well, we need to hope at least our 2 strikers actually existed, unlike one of our centre halves.
Yeah, that's true, that's true. I think you should go first. Why don't you give us your first striker from the 90s that you want to be nostalgic about?
Of the list of about 20 strikers, I just looked through it there. First time it made me laugh, and the second time it made me laugh. I've gone for the former Everton and USA striker Joe Max Moore.
Wow, an early exponent of the double barrel name.
Exactly, I think it's as well because it's the same letter as well on both parts of the surname.
Is it double barrel in the surname? Yeah, it wasn't Joe Max.
I think it was Max Moore was the surname. It sounds like it's a middle name, but it's definitely hyphenated.
Mad Max.
Yeah.
Mad Max, but I don't know if Mad's a first name or if it was just Mad Max.
Obviously his name is amazing, and the fact that he's American, it sounds like what my idea of an American person would have been in my sort of early teens.
And an American in the 90s in the football world would be very much like a Brit in the NBA as well, you know, going the other way.
Yeah, it's like the one sport that really they would be an underdog at.
They're turning it around, but that's future talk. I don't remember him that clearly, though, I'll be honest.
I remember he scored a few goals, but he was one of those guys who would score 1 goal every couple of games. Like, he had a pretty decent record, but you never saw him scoring a double or a hat-trick.
What's the sponsor on his top? Is it like 1-to-1 or something?
I think it was the 1-to-1 days. Alec Cleland at right yellow back.
Okay, Max Moore.
I just thought, like, because of his background, I want to reserve judgment on the Wikipedia. I might come back to that at some point.
You don't want to look it up now? You don't want to press that button?
I think there will be better options for that later on.
Okay. I forget if we're limited to our Wikipedias. Is it only one of our picks each?
Why don't we just take it as it comes? We might get a...
Gareth, we're on the last week. We can't be making up the rules now.
I don't know. It's been so long since we did the last one. I don't know. I can't remember the rules.
Right. Fine choice. For my first choice, I'm going to go for... Now, this man, the enigma of him is the real juxtaposition of his names. I don't know if you can guess who this is, but his first name very, very old-fashioned. Second name, very exotic, new blood, European vibes. I'm talking Clive Mendonca here.
That's a good one. I don't think I had him on my list either, which that's amazing.
Charlton legend. You start saying his name and you're thinking Clive, what name follows Clive? Clive Allen, that's the normal way to follow Clive. And then you take a proper left turn with Mendonca.
Where is that from, that name?
I don't know. Well, it does sound like a sort of 90s take on Spanish, but I don't know, Mendonca.
He was at constant risk of having the donkey headline, but he always just slightly outperformed that.
In terms of Wikipedia, looking it up, I'm not that interested in his personal life, but I am interested in knowing which way his middle name goes. Do you think it's going to be on the Clive side, or do you think it's going to be in the Mendonca side?
Yeah.
That has to be like a British parent and a European parent, right?
So maybe his mum's
like
maiden name is the middle name or something like that. Or his granddad on his mum's side.
I mean, Mendonca's the presumably the dad, and the mum's this woman from Scarborough who's gone over to Benidorm or something and said, I want to have a baby Clive. Even if it's with you, Pablo, I want a baby Clive.
He could be the latest in a long line of Clive Mendoncas, though. Maybe it was his great-grandmother that had gone over to Benidorm.
My dad was called Clive Mendonca. My granddad was called Clive Mendonca.
For those two names, he did look somewhere right in the middle. Slightly darker skin tone, jet black hair, though was he slightly receding?
Definitely sums up his name well. He really fits it. Nobody else could be Clive Mendonca, let's be honest.
I feel like he had a British face, though. I imagine if you saw him from here up, you would think it was Roberto Martinez. But if you saw him from here down, it's like Darren Anderton or something like that.
I'm putting him forward for the team. 5 Clive Mendoncas. I want him in the team. Clive alive. Yeah. He's a man.
Clive Mendonca the 5th will be in the Charlton under-18s at the moment.
When we do the nostalgic 2090s and Clive Mendonca the 8th is in there. Right, who are you picking next?
Right. Well, bit of a dilemma here because there is one that you might pick, but I don't want to risk losing him. One based purely on the name, and there's one based purely on his... I like a wee boring name. There's one of them in there.
Another boring name.
Well, I'll go for the one I don't want to miss out on first, which is
Fair.
West Ham's Florin Radicau.
You're picking ones that I only vaguely remember. Fill me in. Is he Romanian?
He is Romanian, and I think he was one of these ones that was... I'm sure there was loads of people at the 1994 World Cup. I think the 1990 World Cup was a bit too early for a lot of the foreigners coming over to England, but the 1994 World Cup sold a lot of clubs on foreign players, so a lot of the people that were great at that World Cup ended up going to England. I think most of them didn't really work out as far as I can remember. He was one of those ones that he was like a star of the Romanian team with Hagi. Can't remember exactly if it's him or somebody else. I kind of make things up sometimes. But I think he's the one I might like to play my Wikipedia personal life trump card on.
What, because you've got a memory of something?
Well, this worked out pretty well before. Who was it accused of being a porn star? Is it not Limpar? Is it maybe?
He just owned a limp bar.
And he sold plastic boxes. So if it turns out Florin Radicau is now like carpet salesman or something like that, compared to what I've actually got in my head.
He's got a very high vowel to consonant ratio in his surname as well.
Yeah. Is he one of the ones that bleached his hair at the World Cup?
He looks alright there in 2015. He's 51 now, mind. No pictures from the World Cup at the moment. Gareth, you've wasted your card. There's not any personal life entry from...
I must be getting mixed up with somebody else as well.
I can give you some career information if you like.
Yeah.
West Ham was his only trip into the Premiership. How many games did he play for West Ham?
15.
11. It's a good thing we're not trying to build an actual squad here, Gareth. 2 goals in 11. 2 goals in the Premiership. You're bringing him to the team. 2 goals.
I bet he's got an amazing record for Romania.
He does actually. 1 in 2 games, basically. 21 and 40.
That's pretty good. I wonder if the thing I was thinking of is maybe actually in his career history or whatever that section's called.
Well, hang on, I might have found it. He scored a goal against Manchester United after being criticised by Harry Redknapp for going shopping with his wife at Harvey Nichols on a previous match day, a claim that he denies. Is that it?
That's quite funny, but it's not that I was thinking of.
Well, tell me, and maybe somebody will know what player you're thinking of.
Or you could probably find this by typing it in. It's I was sure that he vanished. Harry Redknapp didn't know where he'd gone.
Harvey Nichols.
My memory is that he turned up in a caravan park somewhere.
I'm on the Daily Mirror website here. Harry Redknapp reveals his 2 worst signings and why he made them. He'd been used to queuing for 3 hours in Bucharest for a loaf of bread, and suddenly he was wearing a £28,000 watch. Perhaps the transition was too much for him. The final straw came when he didn't turn up at Stockport. No one could get hold of him. The team lost against lower opposition, and it turns out he was shopping with his wife and Harvey Nichols. Isn't that the story you're remembering?
Type in West Ham missing player caravan.
Is it going to be Vargas? It was Marco Boogers.
Boogers. That's a great name. Can I change it to him just for the name?
I think you can change it to him. He's got an even worse record. He was at West Ham from 95 to 98 and got 4 games and scored no goals. He is a striker though, so I will let you put him in.
Oh, is this a new rule? If we accidentally discover we've had the wrong memory about a player, I could have used this a couple of times before.
Well, it's the Vargas rule, isn't it? During his convalescence in the Netherlands, the Sun newspaper ran an article claiming Boogers was depressed. Get over his name's Boogers. And had been found in a mobile home site in the Netherlands. I mean, I shouldn't laugh at somebody being depressed. Yeah. I was just laughing at the Boogers. Marco was depressed after being sent off in his second appearance for West Ham at Old Trafford and disappeared for a few days. West Ham's club call reporter phoned me, West Ham PA Bill Proser, and said he was trying to find Boogers for an interview but couldn't reach him. He asked if I had booked any flights for him. I told him I hadn't, but added, if he had gone back to Holland, he's probably gone by car again. The reporter misheard me and stated in club call that I had said if he's gone back to Holland, he's probably gone to his caravan. As you know, journalists often listen to club call, which explains why the following day the back page headline in The Sun was, Barmy Boogers living in a caravan. So
that's the first time I've heard that was actually a misunderstanding. That's amazing.
We could have the Romanian boy and Boogers up front in some sort of West Ham 90s missing strike force. One's in Harvey Nichols, one's gone in his car again.
Caravan, did you say?
So who are you actually putting in? Boogers?
Well, I was thinking of Boogers, yeah, so I'll change Radichow for Boogers.
You're lucky he's a striker too.
Yeah.
Good. Part of me just wants to lean into that Norwegian thing. You know, we've got Bardson in goals, both ends of the pitch. I want to throw in the illegal eagle himself, Eagle Ostenstad.
Yeah. Is his manager at Norway not called Eagle as well? Is that Eagle Olsen?
That's why they soared.
Yeah. I know he played for Southampton and Blackburn. Which one came first?
Eagle Ostenstad and Oyvind Leonardsson were my introduction to the O with a line through it.
I was going to ask, did he have that? Yeah.
He did. Oh, big time. First letter of his name. Southampton first, 96 to 99. He only just qualifies for Blackburn in this podcast, 99 to 2003. And then he was on loan to Man City. You sometimes see this because you associate Man City with being like a big team these days. You sometimes see these random players on loan at Man City and stuff.
Yeah.
You're like, wow. And then he came up to Scotland for Rangers, didn't score a goal. Signed for Southampton for 800,000.
From who?
From Viking. I would feel like he was just a very dependable player who proved himself at Southampton and then at Blackburn, and his name's Eagle.
A goal every 3 games.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I feel like we take Eagle for granted because of Olsen and Ostenstad, but when you think about it, it's a crazy name. Imagine if he was called like Kestrel, Ostenstad, Hawk.
I wonder if there's any sort of language connection here, because do you know what eagle is in German?
No.
It's hedgehog.
Really? Huh. Here I was thinking that eagle was named after like this big majestic bird, and he may well be named after a hedgehog.
Exactly.
Shall we look up what eagle is in Norwegian?
Yep.
What is Norwegian for hedgehog? A pinsvin. That's quite nice. All its little pins. What
makes
is
sense.
Norwegian for eagle? Orn. Like, what does the Norwegian name eagle mean? Probably should have done that one first. It means terror. I mean, that's reason to put him in.
That's pretty good.
Terror in the box.
Terror Ostenstad. Yeah. All right, give me your next one. Right, here's where I need to choose between name and just boring, very British name.
Well, don't forget how well Paul Trollope did to get in this team. He threw out any number of hilarious adversaries.
Yeah, see, it's not as funny as that. I think I might go with the other one. My third one is a man who burst onto the scene as a teenager, another Everton striker of the era, Danny Cadamarteri.
Yes. Dreadlocks.
Another
1-to-1. When did Francis Jeffers burst onto the scene? Was that 2000s?
I think he would have been in the 90s, because I'm sure at one point they would have had Cadamarteri, Joe Max Moore, Kevin Campbell, Duncan Ferguson, Franny Jeffers. They potentially had 5 strikers vying for
it's a big squad
2
for
positions.
Back then.
Yeah.
Well, they were vying for 2 positions. But
that's true, not like now.
Household names, a lot of them.
Yeah, but Danny Cadamarteri was another one where I was wondering when you said about Clive Mendonca before you said his name, if it was going to be Danny Cadamarteri, because you've got Danny, just a kind of normal name, and then
True.
Cadamarteri, like.
Yeah, but I feel like could Danny possibly be a Daniello? But check that out.
His career peaked when he was like 18. He strikes me as one of those guys that played for 20 clubs, is probably still playing in like the regional leagues in England somewhere, getting 0 games, 0 goals.
Let's look him up. Let's see if I can remember how to spell his name. Cadamarteri.
There'll be a story about like a knee injury or something when he was 19.
First name's Daniel. That's a disappointment. And he was born in Cleckheaton in Yorkshire. England under 18, under 21 appearances. We haven't been keeping our eye out for B caps.
He's got a B cap written all over him.
Yeah, didn't make it. He did pack in a few games, 92 games for Everton. It's not bad. 13 goals. That was his biggest goal scorer in return. I can understand nowadays, you get strikers, but they're not really strikers, they're holding the ball up. But in those days, a striker was a striker. 52 games, 5 goals for Bradford, 21 games, 1 goal for Sheffield United, 39 games, 2 goals for Bradford. Maybe I'm doing him a disservice, maybe he moved on to the wing and I don't know. Later career, he came up to Dundee United, didn't he? 31 games, scored 4 goals. After his retirement, Cadamarteri worked briefly as a coach with Leeds Ladies FC before accepting a position as coach in Sheffield Wednesday's academy. He was under-18s professional development phase coach at Burnley, whatever that means. On the 5th of October 2018, he left his role to pursue other coaching opportunities, and that's where his Wikipedia ends.
Right. Again, a bit disappointing in terms of the career path there.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 clubs.
Any really obscure ones, or any random Greek ones or Turkish ones or anything?
Here's the thing. He was playing like, Bradford, Leeds, Sheffield United, and then Grays Athletic, which is sort of typical team you see people go play a few games for. And then back to Leicester, Huddersfield, Dundee United, Huddersfield, Carlisle. So it's just that one Grays Athletic appearance in 2006.
Yeah.
He did keep his head in the Football League,
Yeah. I wonder how many people can say they saw Danny Cadamarteri playing for Grays Athletic.
Let us know if you did.
Yeah.
I've seen people do that on podcasts.
Yeah.
I'd throw that in.
Like and subscribe.
Don't anymore. There's not going to be any more videos.
No point. Like, just like it.
I've just got one more to go.
Yep.
Whatever happened to our Chinese friend? Is he still around? Let us know if you're there. You were our only person.
One comment?
We should see if we can break the record. Can we get 2 comments on this?
Yeah.
Alright, my final pick. I'm going to finish off. I've used this sort of reasoning before because it's a player who I thought very high things of just because in my childhood I had one of their posters from Match magazine on my wall. And they don't always give you the superstars. Sometimes they give you Peter Unlöv and a sort of blue and navy chessboard strip, I think. Obviously, for a long time I thought his name was Ndlovu.
Yeah.
And another one who would fall into that bracket of Peter who? Peter Unlöv.
I seem to remember John Motson having a bit of trouble with that surname.
Yeah, I mean, it must be sort of African or something with that N in there.
Yeah. I would go for it in love if I was him.
Do you remember what country he's from?
It wasn't like Democratic Republic of Congo.
No, it's Zimbabwe. We really should remember that because he got a stonking 100 caps, 37 goals for them, and was their assistant manager in 2011 to 13. So a bit of a Zimbabwean legend. You know how you get these like Zimbabwean and South African team names that are always fantastic?
Yeah.
His first team was called Highlanders.
Oh, brilliant.
Apparently now he's the manager of Mamelodi Sundowns, who only ever play evening games. So Highlanders, he went straight to his peak, I would say, at Coventry City. 39 goals in 176 games to Birmingham City, but 106 games for them.
Yeah.
And then 135 games for Sheffield United in the 2000s. I don't remember him that much at Sheffield United.
Would he have been in that team that always seemed to get to like the quarters and the semis and the cups and then got beat by Arsenal every single time?
Possibly. It's very possible if that was between 2001 2004.
Yeah.
That was the end of his time in England, then on to Mamelodi Sundowns. But he didn't finish there. Thunder Royal Zulu, Highfield United, and the Black Mambas. And then he was done. 504 appearances, 111 goals. Very happy to say, we haven't found one yet, he does have a personal life.
Great. Before you delve into the personal life, just speaking about great African
have
team
you got
names.
A little Peter Unlöv story for us? Did you have your arm round him, getting a picture taken once?
That's my arm. His Wikipedia
you met him
entry.
in the shopping centre in Sheffield.
I was reading a thing about the African Nations Cup in Sierra Leone. They'd scored a late equaliser against Ivory Coast where the keeper had made a total gaffe. I looked up Sierra Leone national team because I knew there was a player that I knew from Football Manager who played for them. It turned out it was Kalon, Mohamed Kalon. He actually owns a team now in the Sierra Leone National Premier League called Kalon FC. But there was another team in that league called the Mighty Blackpool. They're like one of the two biggest teams in the country.
Unreal.
There was another team with who were called something like Anti-Drugs FC.
I do want to know the story behind Mighty Blackpool.
I looked it up, but some of their Wikipedia stuff hadn't been updated for about 10 years.
I just can't stop imagining that somebody called Terry, who's went over to do some charity work, Terry from Blackpool, and he started up this team. Oh, I call it the Mighty Blackpool.
It said something about Stanley Matthews. I think they liked Stanley Matthews, so they named the team after Blackpool.
From Sierra Leone down to Zimbabwe. His surname is commonly mispronounced by British commentators and, as a result, fans as well. Throughout his career, he was referred to as Undlov, when in fact the pronunciation of his name is closer to Ndlovu, which is what you think you would go to say in the first place.
Yeah.
Ndlovu was left in critical condition in hospital after a car crash in Zimbabwe in 2012. There was a tyre blowout, came off the road, hit a tree, internal injuries, head injuries, and his brother Adam was killed.
Mm-hmm.
He faced a trial for culpable homicide. Is this too dark? With the prosecution claiming he was responsible for failing to control his car properly, but he was acquitted in 2013 with the court citing a lack of evidence to prove Ndlovu's responsibility. That's the last we heard of him.
Mm. I don't like your pronunciation of Ndlovu. I think you need to go back to the wrong one.
Unlöv.
Because it's the 90s football podcast.
Ah, sorry, you're right. Yeah. Should I read that whole terrible thing again with mispronouncing his name? Well, in 2013, after all that acquittal, he went back to manage Mamelodi Sundowns. Let's not get him in the team. Right, we need to pick two people and then...
Well, we're going to go through a long list, because I seem to remember Paul Trollope came from the long list and ended up in the team.
Give us a couple on your list that almost made it.
Well, I mean, it's quite an extensive list. I'll try and pick out the best. The one that I was swaying whether to go with or not was Ian Marshall.
Marshy!
Big, like, lump of a centre forward who, if required, could go into centre half. Another one who's very familiar, Ian Jess, but I just thought because his name, another one like the aforementioned, got his name mispronounced an awful lot.
I get it, it's not how you expect Ian, but how else would you say it?
Again, I seem to remember John Motson saying Yowen.
Yeah, it could be Ewan, yeah. You're right.
I've got John Awuga Fashanu.
What, is that his middle name?
That's his catchphrase.
No, that's what he says.
Yeah.
That's what he says. I forgot.
Awuga!
I thought that was just Chris Akabusi.
I think there's a bit of a fight over who said this first. That can be the next podcast. We're branching into investigative journalism. Discover who first said Awuga. We've got, I can't believe this guy never came up, Faustino Asprilla.
I don't know, he's just too good. I mean, I can't believe that we never covered the whole of the Wimbledon strike force.
Mm-hmm. I've kind of skipped over them. I had them written down, but sort of like just jumped over them.
Jason Yule, Marcus Gill. And both of them went back and played for AFC Wimbledon as well, which is interesting.
Efan Ekoku.
Efan Ekoku, the best of the lot, yeah. I almost went with Dion Burton just because I think his name's a very good nod to 90s fashion as well. To go with Pistone Benito Carbone.
Yeah, good one.
A couple of shout outs to our local team, Stirling Albion. Ex-Stirling Albion players. Can you name the two 90s ex-Stirling Albion players?
Drinkle?
No.
You'd have been too old. Oh, Ian Turner? No, that's his goalie.
No.
A striker?
Both strikers. I'll tell you. Colin Cram.
Did he play in the Premier League?
Southampton, 93 to 94. Right?
With Shearer.
Transferred to Southampton for 60,000. He made one Premiership appearance at the Dell against Everton as a substitute. So when was Shearer there?
Yeah, he might have been at Blackburn by then, but I'm not sure. That would have been amazing. Cram and Shearer up front.
And the other player was Derek Lilly.
Leeds,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just fire off another couple. Nathan Blake, old Blakey.
He's another 1 in 3 striker there, Nathan Blake. He'll get you 8 goals a season.
I love an 8 goal a season striker. Just consistently mediocre. That's what you want. None of this hot and cold nonsense. Just give me tepid.
Yeah.
Rod Wallace. Tony Yeboah.
Yeah, he was on my list as well. I felt he was good and a bit cult as well.
Yeah. Any other shout outs you want to give?
Again.
Savo Milosevic.
That's a good one. He'd have a good personal life section. Chris Kiwomya.
Oh yeah.
Here's a good one. Ibrahima Bakayoko.
Champman legend.
It's like a chant. Ibrahima Bakayoko.
Just, I had to go to Savo Milosevic. He was a political... Oh, for goodness sake. His father was shot in the chest and killed in his family house by his grandfather after a family row. Oh, there you go. That's Savo Milosevic.
Well, I just reel off a few and see your reaction to them.
Right, go.
So, got Thomas Brolin.
Yeah.
Pierluigi Casaraghi.
Yes.
Here's a good one. Neil Shipperley. another big brute of a striker.
You know that was going to get a reaction.
Here's a guy, it's funny because there's another one whose name is just really boring. Brian Dean.
2 first names.
Yeah, it's a shame the E's on the end because it kind of it makes it a bit more exotic.
Do we have nobody that might have got a B cap out of this whole list?
Brian Dean, surely. He'll have a B cap.
I'm thinking. Yeah. 3 England B caps! Straight in the squad! Oh, he has 3 full England international caps. He's back out the squad.
Out. Here's another one that might have a B cap that he'll have about 30 under 21 caps or something. Julian Joachim.
Aston Villa. I mean, he's got under 18, 19, 21, but no B caps. He's your classic went non-league.
Yeah.
You think his career is over when he leaves, let's say, arguably Darlington in 2008, right? If you think that's his career over, he then played for Kingsland, Thurmaston Town, Corn, Hinckley United, Holbeek United, Boston United, Colville Town, Holbeek United, Oadby Town, Shepshed Dynamo, Holwell Sports, Newark Town, Radcliffe Olympic, Aslington and Orston, Europa Point and Bourne Town. However, for Aslington and Orston, 39 games, 33 goals. Still got it. That was in 2019.
What?
2019. He was 44 years old. He can still do it, man.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And he's got no personal life. That's how he's managed to,
playing
stay
football
so
all the
in
time.
shape.
Yeah.
Have you got any stories about John Aloisi?
I've got him on here though. To have him. He wouldn't have been one of these guys that... Remember Australia went through a spell of scoring like 30 goals in every match against all the island countries. Check his record for Australia.
Yeah, he's got a few. Just 27 and 55 games. Shocking.
I'll give you a couple more. Richie Humphries.
Fantastic.
TT Kamara. Last three, I've got Marian Pahars.
Not many Latvian players to shout about. Shout out Marian Pahars.
Gilles de Bilde, Bob's brother. And I wonder if you remember this guy, Samasi Abu.
No.
He played for West Ham as well.
West Ham had some players I do not remember.
Yeah, he must have just been for a couple of years or something, but he was one of these guys that he was a bit of a Solskjaer for West Ham. He would come off the bench and inevitably score, but never get a game. He'd always be on the bench.
Super sub.
Radichow was keeping him out.
Carl Court. And Christopher Ray.
Christopher Ray, I had him on there as well. That's a good one.
Alright, we need to get picking. I'm going to remind you what my three were, and then you do the same. My three were the soaring Eagle Ostenstad, Peter Unluv, and Clive Mendonca.
And my three were Joe Max Moore, Via Florin Radichow, Marco Boogers.
Bart Boogers it was.
Yeah, and Danny Cadamarteri.
I think Clive Mendonca I want to put forward.
I think Clive
As a
Mendonca's
serious
pretty
contender.
good. Yeah.
I vaguely remember you could sort of play behind a striker as well, which is quite handy in our team.
Yeah. I think unintentionally my best one of the three was Boogers. Just for the caravan misunderstanding.
Yeah, the misunderstanding of the misunderstanding.
Yeah. We have to go on with what we laughed at though, so...
Boogers and Mendonca.
Yeah, I think they're the two for the team.
I'm putting them in. Can I tell you the 11 real quick?
Yes. And wait, I need
Just
to
to
check if I
remind
can
you.
actually get a JPEG of Marco Boogers.
He does not have a picture in his Wikipedia, so let's see what you come up with. What's the name of our team? For the 90s Nostalgia 11. Number 1, Espen Bardson. Number 2, Vegard Hegum. Number 3, Alessandro Pistoni. Number 4, Ronnie Johnson. Number 5, what is his first name again? Javier Vargas. Number 6, Paul Trollope. Thank you, giving the actual answer. Number 7, Will Fox. Number 8, Sasa Churchich. Number 11, Anders Limpar. Number 9, Marco Boogers, if he shows up. Number 10, Clive Mendonca.
Oh, brilliant. I'm so glad we managed to coax Sasa Churchich out of retirement.
Fantastic. It's been a pleasure.
It's been great. A nice trip down memory lane. There's names I haven't thought of since Championship Manager 98-99.
This was great fun. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Get that team up on the screen now.
Yeah, thanks to all our listeners in China.
Bye.
See ya.